from the BP oil disaster, but Deepwater Horizon families are urging President Obama to lift the moratorium on offshore drilling to save the Gulf Coast. My next guest is also fighting the offshore ban. Joining me now is Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas. Congressman, thanks for coming in on this Friday night. Now, are you against any kind of temporary shutdown to make sure that the rigs are okay?
Well, personally, I wouldn't oppose a temporary shutdown of any BP operation until we make sure that they're operating correctly. But to go out there and penalize all the other producers who have done nothing wrong, they've been playing by the rules, doing things right, and make sure testing work. It's outrageous. It's like you having a wreck and then saying from now on Neil Cavuto can never drive a car. You can't do that.
Exactly. Although if in fact there are other people doing things the same way that BP was doing things, that would be a problem.
That would be a problem. And you know what, David? The best way to find that out is if we had offshore inspectors who were doing their job. But if we found out in the hearing that they send them out in pairs, according to Director Birnbaum, the late Director Birnbaum, that they sent them out in pairs to make sure they're doing their job. And I said, well, wouldn't it have been a good idea to make sure that the last two unionized offshore inspectors were not father and son, if you're going to see that they're really watching each other closely? These testings have not been properly
How did it get
followed.
so out of control, Congressman? How did it get so out of control? Was it a cozy relationship between BP and the inspectors, or what?
Now you're using the words that President Obama used. And when he said those words, we got to end this cozy relationship between the big oil and the regulators, I told my staff, there's something out there. I said, go find out where those two people were that were responsible for costing us billions of dollars in federal revenue because they took out the language about price adjustment. That was in 98, 99 during the Clinton administration. They came back and said, well, one's still in the private sector, but guess what? One of them went to work for British Petroleum, had 3 big high jobs, and now last June, this administration hired her to be the Deputy Assistant Secretary for something called Minerals Management Service.
Yeah,
She's in charge of the people. There is a
We actually did a report on her in the past, and there did seem to be something going on there, and we still haven't got a sufficient explanation about what's happening. It's Elizabeth Birnbaum, as we see the picture over there. Now, briefly, let's talk about the cleanup that's going on right now. How do you rate the president's performance?
Well, the president on camera is just, I'd say 100. He is magnificent on camera. But as far, so the performance on camera is just perfect. But as far as what's going on, you don't refuse to lift the Jones Act banning of foreign ships coming in. There was a guy from my district down there with a big barge that he put together using the technology we use in East Texas to clean up, small ponds. And they said, well, they're not sure it's waterworthy yet. They're holding it up on the sea. You've got people from the Netherlands. Hey, they know something about.
That's just for the audience so that they know what we're talking about. The Jones Act prevents any foreign flagship from coming into U.S. waters. Right. Although we should mention Thad Allen talked a little bit about that today. Let's play the SOT. He is the admiral, the commandant of the Coast Guard. Let's play that and get your reaction.
If it gets to the point where there's a Jones Act waiver required, we're willing to do that too. Nobody's coming with a request for a Jones Act waiver, but any skimming capability we can bring in, we're looking for.
Now, what amazes me about that is he said nobody has come to me with a request for a Jones Act waiver. How is that possible?
That is just beautiful. That guy needs to run for office. That is fantastic. All you do is have your subordinates keep anybody from bringing it to you. The Netherlands have been talking about it for weeks. We have ships to bring in and help you out, but your laws don't let us come in. They need to just say, you know what, the Jones Act, just like President Bush did after Katrina, temporarily waived. We know that your union supporters would go after you if you suspended it for too long, but suspend it long enough to clean this stuff up. And I'll tell you something else, David, when we had the hearings and I asked about the sand barriers, they're wanting to build these islands, And this was just a few weeks ago. They said, well, we're discussing that. Discussing it. There are people losing their livelihoods, wildlife dying right and left, and they're discussing it.
Too little, too late.
Well, Admiral Allen needs to go ahead and push. He just shouldn't wait for one of his subordinates to bring it. He just needs to say, let's suspend it for now.
Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas, thank you, sir, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Oh, David, could I say one thing real quick on immigration? After hearing Calderon's speech, I'm drafting the imitation is the highest form of flattery bill where we have exactly Mexico's immigration bill for our law.
That's about 20 times tougher than what Arizona voted for. Thanks a lot, Congressman. Appreciate it. Well, after the break.